So in the Owl House Season 2 episode titled Escaping Expulsion, Luz begins teaching Ida and Lilith the basics about glyph magic right before heading to school. She starts to encourage both Ida and Lilith to learn about altering glyphs to do different things. While Lilith follows Luz's instructions precisely, Ida on the other hand is too impatient to get her powers back, so she starts to experiment with different glyph combos instead of learning the basics first. Ida's attempt of doing this ends up a total failure after everything blows up in her face. Luz then heads off to school, where she is greeted by her friends Willow and Gus. Amity briefly shows up right after and greets Luz with a homemade fairy pie, which is filled with live fairies. Shortly after, they are all called to Principal Bump's office, where they meet Amity's parents Alador and Odalia Blight. Amity's parents believe that Luz, Willow, and Gus are a distraction to Amity and forces Principal Bump to expel them as they do not uphold the same status as them. Luz refuses to accept this as her, Willow, and Gus try everything they can to get Principal Bump to change his mind, but because of how rich and powerful the Blight family are, Principal Bump has no choice but to expel them. Deep down inside, Bump wants to keep Luz, Willow, and Gus at Hexside, but is unable to because of Amity's parents. Amity is unable to help Luz and her friends as she does not have the courage to stand up to her mother Odalia. After Willow and Gus's parents find out about them being expelled, they are immediately sent home with a punishment. Meanwhile, at the Owl House, Ida continues to experiment with glyph combos, which still ends up being a failure. Lilith, however, continues to get better with glyph magic as she was not impatient like her sister. She can now cast ice magic perfectly, as she even creates an ice sculpture of Hootie, all of which was from learning the basics. Ida, still being impatient, tries overlapping the glyphs into what she calls a super glyph. This time it doesn't blow up, but it does create spikes of ice which grows out of control and encages everything in the living room. Ida tries to fix the issue, but after King gets encaged in ice, she calls Lilith for help. Meanwhile, Luz goes to Blight Manor, which is the home of the Blight family, and arrives to find both Alador and Odalia preparing for their latest presentation of new abominations. Odalia agrees to let Luz and her friends back into Hexside if she helps them demonstrate their latest products, which is a job that Amity usually does. Luz immediately agrees to this deal, but then later regrets it after she discovers the presentation is on abomination-based weapons. Shortly, Amity returns home and finds out her mother has taken Luz to Blight Industries to demonstrate their abomination products. She is accompanied by Willow and Gus as they sneak into Blight Industries disguised in cloaks. Once they get in, they immediately see Luz on stage being attacked by all types of abomination-based weapons. After surviving every attack on stage, Odalia presents the last product for the evening, which is a huge armored abomination known as the Abomaton 2.0, which was made to not rest until its enemy is completely eliminated. Luz is then in great danger after the Abomaton starts to strike her with multiple attacks. While she's in danger, Amity hurries to rescue her while Luz does her best to fight off the Abomaton. Right before the Abomaton is about to finish her off, Amity steps in to protect Luz. Amity asks Luz if she's okay, and she says she is as she blushes and begins to show affection towards Amity. Amity holds down the Abomaton while ignoring her mother's orders as she finally stands up to her and threatens to destroy the Abomaton in front of her investors unless she lets Luz and her friends back into Hexside. Odalia reluctantly agrees as Luz steps in to help Amity take down the Abomaton. As they are taking down the Abomaton, they both are caught off guard as both of them show great affection towards each other, which confirms that Lumity may very well happen soon. Luz and Amity shortly after both play dead when the Abomaton hammers them down, which ends the presentation. The investors are then impressed with what they just saw of the presentation. Alador tells Odalia that Amity is getting stronger with her magic and may someday become a coven head. Luz later returns home exhausted and beaten up as Ida and Lilith had learned a lot about glyph magic while she was away. They both figured out how to combine different glyphs to cast different spells. According to Lilith, the glyphs are like words that command magic around them instead of containing it like witches do. Lilith found a way to organize the glyphs to combine and specify whatever spell they want to cast. Back at Blight Industries, the Golden Guard pays a visit to Alador and Odalia so that he can purchase all their abomination weapons for Emperor Bellows. That's the end of the storyline for the episode titled Escaping Expulsion, and things are starting to get very interesting in terms of the plot. Luz and Amity are getting closer to each other, Ida and Lilith are slowly being able to use magic again, and Emperor Bellows continuing with his plan to get into the human realm through a portal. So far, it is unknown why he wants to go to the human realm, but we do know that he told Luz that he has no intention of waging war against humans. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.